Houston running back Dameon Pierce lands on this who to watch for list for myself. And maybe, Dan, you're watching this carefully too, because Devin Singletary was signed already. And I think that was like a yellow flag, at least. I don't think it was a red flag. It wasn't a, we're going to bring in this bruiser to take the Dameon Pierce role, but it certainly wasn't great. Singletary had 50 targets last year, so the pass catching is there. Dameon Pierce wasn't really used in the pass catching role, but there's been a lot of mocks lately at 12 with the Houston Texans taking a Bijan Robinson, and maybe they take Bijan, or maybe they trade back that 12 pick to gain more picks, maybe later in the first round for somebody who wants to take a Bijan or wants to trade up to get, if Jackson Smith and Jigba is still there, that might be an interesting pick. In my mock, I had Tennessee taking Jackson Smith and Jigba at 11, but the Houston Texans, I feel like this is once again a vulnerable position that Houston has already said we're not confident fully in Dameon Pierce handling a 3-down workload. Plus, last year, Dameon Pierce was a nice floor play when he was out there, but his ceiling games were non-existent. He had a 0% top 5 weekly rate among running backs. He did not get there. He did not access elite ceilings because the offense was so bad. I don't know if you're feeling this type of vulnerability, but I've been staying away from Dameon Pierce unless he drops multiple rounds in these early drafts.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to take him unless it's below ADP. I want to see him drop some for sure. And I think you pegged it out exactly right there, Bradley. If Bijan gets past Atlanta at 8, if you're a Dameon Pierce bag holder, you got to be shaking in your boots at that point, because he's a Texas guy. He actually comes, I believe, from Corpus Christi area, if I remember right. But anyway, right down there on the Gulf Coast of Texas, close to Houston, and boy, he will sell jerseys like nobody's business in Houston, and that's a franchise that's aware of that. They've got a problem attracting their fans and keeping their fans' interest, and a player like Bijan would do a world of good for them. I think if Bijan's there for Houston at 12, look out Dameon Pierce.
Shout out Death Dealers.
Yes.
It was good to see you at the FF Expo a couple years ago. We'll have to reconnect for sure. So I agree with you at 12. It could be very hairy for those. If you're a dynasty manager and that Bijan is still available, that's where you're sending those dynasty trade offers in real time. You are sending them in real time before the pick is in. You've got about 10 minutes to get those in and hope that the manager sees it. So that way you can sell when you can, because I think. And look, I will admit by bias, last year I didn't think that Dameon Pierce was going to be the player that he was. I was concerned about draft capital. I was concerned about usage. And frankly, like, he landed in a good enough spot that the Houston Texans need to lean on him, and there wasn't really anyone else, Rex Burkhead, real talk, that was going to get in the way. So Dameon Pierce landed in a nice spot, but couldn't last the whole season because he was never asked to carry the full workload at Florida. So I think this is my bias kind of showing out, but also there are legitimate reasons to be concerned for Dameon Pierce here going into the 2023 draft.
Yeah,
Let's keep it moving. Oh, one last thought, Dan?
One last thought. Yeah, I think if you're expecting to be a bell cow, you're probably expecting a little bit too much. And when I say you, that is you, the listener. I know you, Bradley, do not expect him to be a bell cow. And that's why you're drafting him where you are, or not drafting him, as the case may be. But yeah, this is a classic situation. 4th round pick in the real NFL draft, who hasn't shouldered a huge load before. So more competition is probably coming. I'm not too concerned about Devin Singletary. I had to add somebody there. They couldn't leave the running back room as it was. So adding Singletary was just, I think in a way, almost a good thing for Dameon Pierce if that's all that happens. But I expect that's probably not going to be the only thing that happens.
For what it's worth, Dan, in my mock 1.0 at pick 33, I have the Houston Texans selecting Jahmyr Gibbs. That's where it would be. I have Houston taking CJ Stroud at 2, and then taking Tyree Wilson at 12. So the edge rusher.